Live from WTOC, the Southeast news leader. The News Now starts on WTOC Plus.
Well, thanks for joining us here for the news on WTOC Plus. I'm digital anchor Jude Binkley. We start with new details this morning as Savannah police investigate an overnight shooting on the city's east side. Officers responded to Iantha Street just before 9 last night. Now, this is in the Sunset Park neighborhood, a couple of blocks from Johnson High School. Police say nobody was injured. We are still working to get more details, and you can stick with WTOC for updates. And we do have an update out of Effingham County after 2 people died in a double shooting near Rincon on Wednesday. It happened at a home in the 500 block of Goshen Road. We can now tell you officials are calling this a murder-suicide involving a husband and wife. According to the police report, the woman was the victim. We are continuing to follow this developing story, and we'll keep you up to date on air and online at WTOC.com. Well, a Hilton Head woman is pleading for law enforcement to reopen her case. She was the victim of a chemical attack in December of last year. Since then, no arrests have been made, and we do want to warn you, some of the images you're about to see can be a little graphic. Maria Hernandez tells us she was coming home from the bank when she was attacked and robbed. Someone threw a chemical at her, burning her face, chest, arm, and leg. She just recently had her first surgery in November to repair that damage. We spoke to her along with her son, who translated for us, and they believe someone saw something that night and can help.
Pues para que encuentren las personas que me hicieron esto.
She said that when they attacked her, she saw 2 cars coming on the road. Obviously, they saw something, but they didn't stop, And those 2 cars, they know something, but they just stay quiet.
Anyone with information in this case should contact the Beaufort County Sheriff's Office. And if you'd like to help Maria pay for her medical expenses, that link can be found right now on our website at WTOC.com. Well, today, a judge will rule on possible new charges for a man accused of killing a Savannah resident with a punch to the head. Closing arguments in the Charles Teeple trial will follow the judge's ruling. Now, Teeple is accused of punching Bruce Helmley, who died days after the assault. Helmley denied medical attention directly after the blow. He was hospitalized in a coma the next day. The doctor who performed the autopsy testified the cause of death was due to Teeple's assault. The defense questioned that conclusion, claiming the doctor used a narrative to draw his conclusion rather than medical facts. They say he incorrectly ruled out a stroke as a possible cause of death.
The fact that my client was underage drinking is relevant to your case.
It just tells you about what was going on out there.
Well, I understand, but why would a doctor use that in making his conclusion?
Well, I'm not sure I understand exactly the question.
Okay.
The autopsy doctor and the prosecution cross-examine argue the context to the victim's hospitalization makes it clear that his issues stemmed from the assault. We do have crews in the courtroom right now for this final day, so stick with WTOC for updates. Turning now to state news, a former UGA wide receiver will spend the rest of his life in prison for killing a gas station attendant outside of Athens. An Oconee County jury found Akil Crumpton guilty of murder in the 2021 shooting of 23-year-old Elijah Wood at a racetrack in Watkinsville. Crumpton is already serving 30 years on a federal conviction related to the case. And in national news, the search for the suspect in last weekend's deadly mass shooting at Brown University is now over. Police say the alleged gunman was found dead in a New Hampshire rental storage unit of an apparent suicide. Investigators believe the 48-year-old suspect was also responsible for the shooting death of an MIT professor earlier in the week. CBS News' Jared Hill has more from New York.
Ending a multi-state murder manhunt. Overnight, authorities closed in on a storage facility in Salem, New Hampshire.
We got him.
The suspected Brown University gunman and suspected killer of an MIT professor found inside a storage unit, dead from a self-inflicted gunshot wound.
He was using a phone that was obfuscating ability to track it. He was sophisticated in hiding his tracks.
The alleged shooter, identified as Claudio Manuel Neves Valente, a 48-year-old Portuguese national living in the U.S. legally. Brown says he was a physics PhD student at the university between 2000 and 2003 before he dropped out. School officials say he likely took classes in the same building where he allegedly opened fire last Saturday, killing 2 students and injuring 9 others. Police say he's also believed to have killed MIT professor Nuno Loureiro Monday night. Both were in the same school program back in their native Portugal.
This was always going to be an investigation where something was going to break it open.
The key to breaking the case, according to a police affidavit, was interviewing an anonymous Reddit poster. 3 days ago, the person described seeing the suspect with a gray Nissan Sentra. Investigators tracked the car to a rental company in Boston where the suspect used his real name on the application. Authorities also discovered the suspect's storage unit in Salem, where his body was found.
Our work is not done. There are many questions that need to be answered.
Back in Providence,
there's a sense of relief in the community.
Steps toward healing. Jared Hill, CBS News.
Well, back here at home, Port Wentworth City Council has approved an amendment to regulate data centers within city limits, but some people say the city is moving too quickly. It was a hot topic of discussion for Port Wentworth folks last night during the city council meeting. The city says they want to get ahead and set boundaries if data companies settle in their area. People do say they're concerned because water usage, noise disruption, traffic, and taxes will all go up with the adoption of data centers.
There's nobody that comes up and says, yes, I want it, it's a great idea, and you wonder why.
This name does not mean hearing concerns and then rushing to rewrite policy behind closed doors.
Without the proper factual information on how much revenue it's going to generate for Port Wentworth, it's all skeptical, right?
Right now, the city says they are not in contact with any specific data centers, but city leaders say data corporations are already looking at sites across Chatham and Effingham counties. And speaking of that, happening this morning, a critical vote impacting how Georgia will power its growing boom of data centers is taking place. The Public Service Commission will decide if Georgia Power can add 10 megawatts worth of power capacity. That's enough energy to power all of New York City. We'll let you know what happens. Again, that vote is taking place this morning. Turning now to health news, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention is warning flu season is starting earlier than usual, and kids are especially at risk. Dr. Andy Shane with Children's Healthcare of Atlanta says just 38% of children have gotten their flu shots so far. Cases for everyone are also on the rise. The newest CDC report from December 6th shows 8% of tests were positive for the flu. That's 4 times higher than last month.
We really encourage families to do everything possible. That includes hand washing and hand hygiene. That helps to prevent all respiratory viruses. Trying to stay home when you're sick. I know it's hard during the holidays. You want to go out and gather and be with family.
We do have some good news, though. Dr. Shane says RSV cases are much lower this year. Well, relaxed rules for reefer. President Donald Trump signed an executive order yesterday to fast-track marijuana reclassification. According to the administration, the move is aimed at boosting medical research into the drug. Joe Gorcho with our sister station in Atlanta explains what this really means and how it impacts Georgians.
President Trump characterized this as a common-sense decision, but to be clear, the order does not fully legalize the use of cannabis. Now, here in Georgia, there have been multiple attempts to legalize or decriminalize marijuana at the state level. Those fail, but under Georgia's current marijuana law, people can get low THC oil strictly for medical use, as long as they have one of the qualified diseases permitted for this kind of treatment plan. Today, President Trump's executive order eases restrictions on marijuana, expediting the reclassification to a Schedule III substance tonight. We spoke with Michael Mumper, who is the executive director of Georgians for Responsible Marijuana Policy. He emphasizes this action is about research, not legalization, and the science still isn't settled. He adds that the move today will cut down on paperwork for researchers and changes how the drug is regulated by now both the FDA and DEA.
The most important message to the public is that it normalizes marijuana as a product for consideration. And to us, that's premature and a little dangerous because youth are still being harmed at alarming rates. Would be more pressure on states to expand their medical marijuana programs. But, you know, our argument has always been we've got to stick to the science.
And the president is also directing his administration to work with Congress to, quote, ensure seniors can access CBD products they have found beneficial for pain. In the studio, Joe Gorcho, Atlanta News First.
Well, airports are gearing up for the final holiday rush of 2025. AAA predicts around 8 million people will fly between December 20th and the beginning of the new year. The Savannah Hilton Head International Airport is preparing for around 80,000 travelers to pass through the airport during the holiday travel period. The number of travelers is similar to what they saw this Thanksgiving, but this time it's spread out over just about a week. Savannah Airport representatives say this weekend and the 2 days leading up to Christmas will be the busiest. If you're leaving your car behind at the airport, representatives say to follow their signage for parking. Expect to walk a little further depending on how close to Christmas your flight is. Another thing to keep in mind is how long it might take for you to make it through security. Lines are the longest during the early morning, midday, and late afternoon. Representatives say if you're planning in advance, there are a few ways to speed up the process.
We offer Clear Mobile at the airport. You can sign up for it, use the app on your phone, and it can speed up the process to get through the checkpoint. Of course, we also have TSA PreCheck, and we have the brand new checkpoint. So, you know, we don't see the lines that we used to see.
Make sure to check the status of your flight before leaving home and sign up for alerts from the airline you're flying with. You should also arrive early to the airport. Experts recommend getting there about 2 hours before domestic flights and 3 hours for international ones. And finally, this morning, it's the long-awaited final step in the return of an iconic Savannah landmark. The city will celebrate the reactivation of the Forsyth Park fountain. It's happening in just about 15 minutes. Everyone's invited to the celebration of holiday cheer at that fully reactivated fountain. There'll be photos with Santa and Mrs. Claus in front of the fountain, refreshments, and holiday activities for all ages. Guests are also encouraged to bring new unwrapped toys to support the Toys for Tots drive for the event. And with that, we are going to wrap things up here for the news on WTOC Plus. We appreciate you spending part of your morning with us. We'll be back in just about 45 minutes at the top of the hour for another round of stories. And in the meantime, you can always head on over to our website to catch the latest news at WTOC.com. Thanks for watching, and here's Local News Live.